Good morning. The October 13 Board of Directors meeting is called to order. First, I'd like to ask our interpreter to explain how to access interpretation. Please go ahead.
All right, interpreter, please go ahead.
Go ahead. Please. Is the interpreter not able to hear me?
She's there. She might not be responding. She's online.
Are you able to hear us? We cannot hear you.
Okay. Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, interpreter will make the announcement now. So, announcement from the interpreter. To use the interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon, the world, and select English as your language. If you are joining through the Zoom mobile app, cell phone, tablet, etc., please press the ellipsis, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Finally, click on mute original audio to not hear the original Spanish low in the background. Headsets are available for interpretation. If you are in the meeting room, please check out a headset from the receptionist in the lobby. Not the same information will be in Spanish. Ahora la información en español. Aviso por parte de la intérprete. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, favor de desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación, globo terráqueo, y seleccione Spanish, o sea, español. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, celular, tableta, etc., presione los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Si no desea escuchar el audio original en inglés en el fondo, por favor seleccione Mute Original Audio, o sea, silenciar audio original. Contamos con auriculares disponibles para el servicio de interpretación. Si se encuentra en la sala de reunión, favor de pedir auriculares con la recepcionista en el vestíbulo. Gracias. Okay, complete.
Thank you for that. All right, I would like now to take a moment to acknowledge the land we call home. The tribal nations of the San Diego region have historically faced injustices. We acknowledge the harmony that existed between the land, nature, and its original peoples who have since endured displacement, persecution, and systemic oppression. We pay our respect to the unceded territory and homelands of the 18 tribal nations in our region, the most in any county in the United States. We're good? From our cultural groups, the Kumeyaay, the Guiño, the Luiseño, and the Cupeño, and the Cahuilla. This land has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced them for many generations in a relationship of balance and harmony. As members of the SANDAG community, we acknowledge this legacy. We aspire to learn from indigenous traditional knowledge and experiences and undoing the injustices of the past. With that, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Ms. Tessa, could you please call the roll?
Good morning. City of Carlsbad, Councilmember Burkholder.
Carlsbad, Burkholder, present.
City of Chula Vista, Councilmember Cardenas.
Cardenas, present.
City of Coronado, Councilmember Duncan.
Present.
County of San Diego, Chairwoman Vargas.
Vargas present.
County of San Diego, Supervisor Anderson is absent. City of Del Mar, Councilmember Gasterland.
Actually, I think Supervisor Anderson is here.
Yes.
I think he just stepped out.
Thank you. I will note for the record that Supervisor Anderson is present. City of El Cajon, Mayor Wells.
Here.
City of Encinitas, Mayor Kranz.
Here.
City of Escondido, Mayor White.
Present.
City of Imperial Beach, Councilmember Fisher.
Imperial Beach here.
City of La Mesa, Councilmember Shu.
Here.
City of Lemon Grove, Councilmember Mendoza. City of National City, Vice Mayor Molina.
Present.
City of Oceanside, Councilmember Vice. City of Poway, Mayor Vaz. City of San Diego, Mayor Gloria is currently absent. City of San Diego, Vice Chair Elo Rivera.
Present.
City of San Marcos, Mayor Jones.
Jones here.
City of Santee, Mayor Minto.
Here.
City of Solana Beach, Vice Chair Hebner.
Present.
City of Vista, Councilmember Melendez.
Melendez here.
Caltrans Director Diarda.
Here.
MTS is absent. North County Transit District, Councilmember Edson.
Edson present.
Imperial County is absent. USDOD, Anna Shepherd. Port of San Diego is absent. San Diego Water Authority, Mel Katz.
Here.
San Diego County Regional Airport Authority, Director Cabrera. Mexico is absent, and Southern California Tribal Chairmen's Association Chairwoman Pinto. That concludes the roll call and confirms the quorum.
Welcome, everyone. With that, we're going to begin today's meeting with non-agenda public comments. This is for the public and member non-agenda comments. Per our board policy, the amount of time allotted for each verbal public comment is determined based on the number of agenda items, the complexity of those items, and the number of persons anticipated to offer comment. This allows us to hear from as many people as possible and to complete our business while we still have quorum. Based on those factors for today's meeting, each member of the public will be allowed 1 minute for their comments. I do want to add a specific paragraph just because I want to make sure it's very clear for folks. Before we proceed to item number 1, I would like to remind everyone in the room today that this meeting will be conducted in an orderly manner to ensure that the public has an opportunity to be heard and that the members' discussions and deliberations are not disrupted. We want to hear from every person who has comments on the subject of today's meetings, but I will insist that comments remain on topic. No comment shall use loud, threatening, profane, or abusive language that disrupts the orderly conduct of the meeting will be tolerated. Any such language or any other disorderly conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the committee meeting is prohibited. With that, I'm going to ask Tessa to ask our non-agenda public comments to begin. Thank you.
We take the first 5 public speakers under non-agenda comments at this time, and then the remainder will be taken at the end of the meeting. Currently, that includes Mark Narcus Kramer, Paul the Bold, the original draw, and in person, Mike and Consuelo. The first non-agenda public speaker, Michael Brando, please come to the podium.
In which they.
Mr. Gary, I see where we're
Please do
going.
not interrupt.
I'm going to run the meeting.
No, you're interrupting,
Mr. Gary,
you're violating my
speak
First
to the-
Amendment rights. Please do not interrupt me.
I will ask you to leave the meeting if you continue with your nonsense. I will not tolerate your nonsense. You understand?
This is played because it shows the problem that's going on at the City Council of San Diego and the County Board of Supervisors, where both of these people are constantly interrupting people, harassing speakers, and trying to get them to stop saying the truth. Even people like Lori Saldana, who speaks at the City of San Diego, says it's a growing number of people that are basically becoming aware of what's going on there. I want to remind you, this is a private text message that Sean Elo Rivera was having with Nathan Fletcher, where he was mocking commenters, saying that they are the worst of the worst. All of you know what's going on. These two need to step down. It doesn't matter if you get a new CEO because they've sown distrust.
Our next in-person public speaker, Lou Domini, please come to the podium. Would also like to note that Consuelo will actually be the 5th public speaker.
1 minute. I will be short and brief. I'm the presenter of this handout that you have in front of you. And I hope in 50 seconds, I can cast a vision and have you explore this further. Sometimes simplest is best. And this option of building a bridge across the bluffs called a viaduct would cost about 1/4 of what the tunnel would cost. It is the smallest impact by far on the land. It only hits the bluff where the columns are. It's the shortest construction time. This would save about 7 years on the project, with 7 years of escalation of prices, 7 years of project management, all kinds of costs, and 7 years of inflation. It has the shortest permitting time. The entire project remains in the existing railroad right away. They don't have to.
Sir, your time has expired.
Right? Thank you very much. I hope you'll consider this and it can be studied further.
Good job.
Our next public speaker, Truth, please come to the podium. You will be followed by Mark.
We're all lucky as a black cat to be here on Friday the 13th because SANDAG often is a horror show. And tomorrow is weighted vote extortionist Nora's birthday, so here's a best of Nora's nonsense.
For the record, it's Chairwoman Vargas, not Nora. Running the meeting, just so everybody knows. Let me run my meeting. No, this is not the Nora show. Let's not make it about the Nora show because it's not the Nora show. I will not tolerate your nonsense. There's no conspiracy here. When I get tired, I start speaking Spanish. Dios mío. I'm sorry, I suck. I think I'm borderline senior.
Now, Gil, what are you and Jared up to with that ballot measure to allow the San Diego City Council to strip away power from the city attorney with an unelected, hand-picked minion with no term limits? Are you hoping to secure the position for yourself? Is $750 all it takes to buy Sean? And trying to have Stewart be on SANDAG's audit committee and SANDAG's at the same time, totally corrupt. And Brown Act violator Sandy, look at her, gone, can join that list of corruption. Baker Electric, Commonwealth Consulting, conflict of interest, pay to play, misconduct. What a disgrace. That's just one more down and a lot more to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public speaker, Mark, will be followed by the final public speaker on this item, Consuelo. Mark, please come to the podium.
Mark, this is exactly what happened in Europe. SANDAG is a totalitarian mechanism to take away our rights and our sovereign society. In Europe, they disarmed the people. They kept taking away the powers that their government had and giving them to foreign unelected councils, just like we're doing. You can see these YouTube videos to see some of this and understand it better. I don't have time here. An example of that is the title on YouTube, Goodbye American Sovereignty, Hello USMCA. You need to see that from 3 minutes to 6 minutes. Rosa Corey, Behind the Green Mask, UN Agenda 21. So the title's a little bit longer. That'll bring it up. See it from 3 minutes, 30 seconds onward. Zeitgeist Addendum, full free documentary, Social Pathology, Peter Joseph. See that from 6 minutes, 40 seconds to 24 minutes. And The Corporation Nation, the U.S. is not a country, remastered, original by Clint Richardson. If people don't see these, they won't understand what's going on. We're being bankrupted. Our system can't work properly that way.
Your time has expired, sir. Our final public speaker, Consuelo, please come to the podium.
In addition to opposing this, I would ask the council president to please demonstrate decorum and courtesy while addressing members of the public who come before the council. Interruptions display a lack of confidence as well as a violation of the Brown Act's intent to allow the public to participate without being chastised or insulted by the elected officials they seek to address. Please remember the council is already under 2 lawsuits regarding Brown Act violations. Please don't add additional examples appearing before the court on that same matter. The Brown Act often is violated through procedural barriers that discourages people or prevents people from having comments on issues that they care about, or they are told how they can have those conversations, which is not under the Brown Act. The public is allowed to speak. It's our First Amendment right at the constitutional level, as well as our right at the state level.
For more than 60 seconds.
And that concludes the public comments at this time.
Yes, Councilmember.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'd like to make a very brief member comment. We're continuing with the railroad relocation. We had an incredibly successful October 4th workshop in the Del Mar Town Hall. Big turnout. People asked many, many questions. It was recorded in case anybody wants to hear it. And what we heard was that residents on both the north and the south is City of San Diego, north is City of Del Mar, are asking for consideration and study, that's it, of a fairgrounds alignment and portal to the north, and the so-called MT1 alternative alignment, which is a dotted black line on page 26 of the 300-page appendix to the 2017 study. So they're both there in the study. We have an incredibly good relationship right now with the SANDAG staff and the city staff. Solana Beach needs to be included in this discussion deeply and early. And I'm really hoping we can come to something that's feasible that meets the following goals. No eminent domain of 25 homes near each portal. Portals away from the homes. A railroad alignment that works for the region with double tracking with no harm to people's homes. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other member requests, but I just want to double check since sometimes we have. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chair Vargas. I had two quick announcements. The first one, on Monday, Governor Newsom announced $114.5 million in Clean California Cycle 2 grants. 60 projects were awarded these grants, and they will be improving parks, tribal lands, neighborhoods, transit hubs, walking paths, streets, roadsides, recreation fields, and places of cultural importance or historical interest in underserved communities. In the San Diego region, the three projects that received the grants were the Escondido Creek Trail, the Oceanside Transit Center, and the Bayer Boulevard Transit Center out in San Isidro. There was a fourth project in Imperial County that received a grant for improving the downtown El Centro. So this was very competitive. There were over 230 applications worth $500 million. So our region did fairly well considering how competitive this was. I'm really looking forward that maybe in the future there will be a cycle 3 because this program has been very successful in improving our state. The second quick announcement that I have is that after 32 years of civil service, I will be retiring on December 22nd. It's been a privilege and an honor to serve the people of California during the last 32 years. I want to thank you all for your continued support during these years, and then also for the continued support for all the civil servants out there that are working for our citizens and for the state. So thank you, everyone.
Yes, we can clap. Just to be clear, we're not clapping that you're retiring, we're clapping for your years of service. So thank you, sir. For the record, we appreciate all of your work and your leadership, and we'll have to celebrate you before you leave. With that, I'm going to turn it over. I don't see any other requests. Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Hassan for any updates that you have to share, sir.
Thank you, Chairwoman. So before I start my report, the staff want to tell our chairwoman how much we appreciate her. Tomorrow is her birthday. So we brought a cake from baby cakes, homegrown, to celebrate that occasion. So if you please join me in singing happy birthday to the supervisor, I will be grateful. Okay, let's go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Norman. Happy birthday to you. And you have to try this cake. It's really good. It's homegrown. So happy birthday.
Thank you, Hassan, and thank you, everyone.
It's been a busy couple of weeks. As you know, we all last Wednesday celebrated California Clear Air Day. I want to thank supervisors, her staff, all of you who participated in this. Was reported by our MTS that the ridership on that day reached 280,000 trips, which is 10.4% more than the highest ever recorded since 2020. And it's 10.4% more that day than any other day. So it's demonstrate that free transit sometimes works for targeted groups, and utilizing a public good like public transit is a good thing. But thanks to all the partners, all of you who participated in making this a successful day for San Diego. We're continuing to do the outreach for the 2025 Regional Transportation Plan. Last week, we had a workshop across the border in Tijuana. I want to thank our Mexican partners for engaging with us. This is an important binational region that requires coordination. Also, like Council Member Castellan mentioned, last week we held a second workshop in Lausanne realignment work, attended by over 100 people. Thank you for those who attended this meeting. We're continuing the discussion. It's not an easy discussion. But last week, we also had the first working group that we proposed to create for Lausanne in this room. I'm happy to report to you that every single agency along that corridor, 351 miles of it, participated. I'm thankful to President Pro Tem Senator Atkins, Senator Blakespear for attending, and I'm grateful for our second Vice Chair, Lisa Hiepner, for welcoming the group to the meeting. The meeting is chaired by the Undersecretary Mark Carlson, Undersecretary of the State. I can tell you that with all the agencies along the corridor presenting, I think the goals are being aligned. We're doing more than anybody in San Diego County to make sure that this corridor works better for Californians and for the country. I believe with the funding we received to replace the old bridges, to start the environmental and design, it is very fitting to say this corridor will receive the national attention that it's needed. Again, I want to thank the second Vice Chair, all of you who participated in the workshop, and the work will continue on that. We are continuing to work on the connecting our San Diego International Airport to rail. You've seen the presentation last month. We are ready to start the environmental phase of that project. This board will hear when we do that, but it is fair to say that with the commitment from the airport and getting in the pipeline for the federal funding is really important. Last week, the chairwoman, Mayor Gloria, Councilman Duncans were in Mexico City with the chamber trip. We were, with my team, meeting with the leadership, with the Department of State, and with the Secretary of Communication and Transportation, Mr. Nunez. The purpose of the meeting is to re-emphasize our commitment to delivering OTA Mesa 2. I can tell you, hearing it directly from our Mexican partners, they're actually going to be done with their part in their border early next year. And we need to put in a high gear and try to catch up. So we open that facility in a couple of years for both nations to enjoy not only the economic benefit, but the environmental and other benefits. But again, I want to thank Chairwoman Vargas, Mayor Gloria, who made sure the meeting were attended. I'm going to give them the floor if they want to add anything about the trip.
It was a whirlwind what is it, 30 hours for me, 32 hours for me, because I have a board meeting on Tuesday. But I think it was a very productive meeting, and I was extremely encouraged by the administration on the Mexican side and how much, I'm really confused what's happening.
Sorry.
Okay. I was very encouraged by the Mexican representatives and how much they are pushing to ensure that this gets done before their administration is over next year. And so I think the mayor can attest to this as well, that they are very much doing everything that they can. And I know that they are going to be, sharing more information shortly on that. And they're going to be putting some pressure on their folks and helping us as much as they can so that this can move forward quickly on the East Otay Mesa side. And then I will mention, because we did do a resolution on the Tijuana River Valley not too long ago, that we did have a panel, particularly on water issues, but we did focus, and I think Councilmember Duncan was there too, and asked some questions specifically around Tijuana River Valley, and there is some movement taking place from the Mexican side and some investments coming in November that I think will have a huge impact. And so I think it was a productive meeting as a whole. I don't know, Mayor, if you want to add anything.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just add my kudos to our CEO, who did an exceptional job. This is really where you shine, Hassan, in these meetings with high-level officials and getting them to help advance what we're trying to do as an agency, particularly with regard to Otay Mesa East, the diplomatic conversations with both the Foreign Ministry and the Transportation Department, I think resulted in tangible actions on their part to help us get the U.S. federal government moving quicker. So kudos to you, sir, for helping to move that there. I'm happy to be present and try and assist where I could, but the SANDAG team, I think, did a great job. And I think we have a couple of tangible actions that can take place in the next couple of weeks to hopefully get the commitments and the actions from our U.S. federal government so that we can open this critical port of entry no later than 2026.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you, Mayor. I want to just re-emphasize how important delivering this project is. I also shared with the Secretary of Transportation and others that my departure would absolutely mean nothing to the amazing commitment we have from this agency. Accompanying me was Director Gustavo from Caltrans, and I'm going to ask him if he wanted to say something.
No, just to echo the commitment that the Mexican officials at the highest levels have to this project. This project is good for both nations, for all the jobs it's going to create, the environmental impacts that the project has, beneficial environmental impacts. And we're committed to delivering it as well. Mario also, our Chief Deputy for District 11, was there, and he, after I'm gone in December, he will continue to be the lead for the project. And we're committed to delivering and catching up with the infrastructure that Mexico is putting in place.
Thank you. And I just want to say that Tijuana River did come up in the discussion, and I hope that this agency with your leadership will get more involved in making sure this is dealt with the same way we're dealing with Otay Mesa too. We're continuing to work on the blue line, purple line, and we're continuing to compete really well for federal and state funding. This agency, your agency, is being categorized everywhere as one of the most innovative agency in the country. That's why people trust us with their money. And that's because the staff here are amazing. They do amazing work. They show results for the money they receive. Chairwoman, that concludes my report.
Thank you. I don't have anything else to add at this time in terms of my report. I think, Mayor, you have a question?
Thank you so much, Chair.
So as our director, our CEO, Akrada was speaking, he brought up the airport connectivity project. And he said that we're moving forward to secure funding. And I am unclear as to when we actually voted for a project or a specific project, because it reminded me, I went back and I was looking in my phone to find out when our last meeting was on this. It was July 28th. It was an actual, not agenda, it was an informational item. The Board of Directors will be briefed on the airport transit connector and a concept evaluation study of the leading concepts to connect the San Diego International Airport to the regional transit system. So we haven't actually voted on and which exact thing that we're going to be moving forward with. So I'm kind of confused how we could actually be trying to secure funding on something that we don't actually know what that project is. So if we could get some clarification on this, I think it would probably bring to light some information for all of the board members so that when it does come to us, and I think I objected at this last meeting or at that meeting in July saying, we haven't really made a decision. Why is this informational only? And it seems like we should be voting on something at some point. And I want to know which project we're moving forward on and when we will be actually voting on something that we're already taking a path on. Can I get a response from someone?
Be happy to respond. Yes, we didn't ask you for action on the 28th. We gave information. We got your input. Actually, some of members of this board wanted to move faster than we're moving, and you approved the budget that said go ahead and do this.
Wait. So now if we approve a budget amendment, then we are now approving a project?
No,
because
no.
that's not what I
You
understand.
approved the budget for us to do the work. We're doing the work consistent with the budget. And none of the members here told us to stop last presentation. So that's my response.
Okay, but what direction are we taking? Which project are
So
we
just
moving
to
forward with?
clarify, right now, what we're doing is we're seeking funding for the concept, right? I mean, for the big, so that we can get the resources here. And then eventually we're going to be approving an actual concept, right? Is that correct?
Correct.
So why don't we do this? Are we able to, go ahead, Colleen.
Yes, so when the board adopted the budget last summer, it had in their funding to do the analysis that we brought forward to you. We're still in the process of going through that detail and going to the next level of analysis so that we actually have a project that we can bring forward to you all. So that's where we are in the process. If you'd like a further update, we're more than happy to do that at a future meeting too.
So could I get clarification? Because I'm sure a lot of board members are asking the same question of themselves. Which project are we moving forward to secure the funding for that our director actually mentioned? Which project is that?
Connect. The project is to connect San Diego International Airport with rail. And we haven't identified the project yet. We haven't identified which one it is. We haven't, we're working on several alignments. So that all of that work, which project, what's the technology is going to come through the environmental work.
So when you say that we're moving forward to secure funding, you're actually not meaning that we have put in any paperwork to secure any funding because we don't actually know what that project is.
Correct. We will not be in the pipeline to receive funding unless we define more what the project is.
Correct. So will we be taking a formal vote on which project it is?
When we finish with the work, we will be coming to you and asking you for action.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you for the clarification.
Okay. So the next item on the agenda is item number 2. As you know, the CEO position is a critical role for the organization. It's the Chief Executive Officer recruitment, and it is a critical for the selecting the best candidate is important for all of us, and making sure that is a fair and competitive process is important for me as it is for all of you. At my direction and under my purview as a board chair, I have asked staff to retain CPS HR consulting to support the board in conducting the CEO recruitment. Pam Derby, who has worked with SANDAG in the past previously, will be heading up this effort. And in a moment, I'm going to have her walk through the process and timeline that we expect to follow. One thing that I want the board to know is that the proposed process is very similar to the one that was used in the past in 2018. It includes the formation of a board subcommittee who will work closely with me and with Pam during the initial process, actually with Pam, not with me, during the initial phase of the recruitment, as well as a robust stakeholder engagement as it was promised to the community and public outreach activities upfront. This is where all of us will have an opportunity to provide input about what we're looking for in our next CEO. And the plan also includes the appointment of an interim CEO that we will all be able to go through a process with. So I'm going to ask Pam, and I want to also make sure that I ask Pam Derby and Melissa Kofeld. Did I pronounce it correctly, Melissa? Kofeld. Thank you. I apologize for that. I want to make sure that it's very clear that all board members will be engaged in this process, even those that are not part of the subcommittee, because all of your input will be extremely important as we're identifying. But I do need to create a subcommittee for this process. And so I'm going to turn it over to Pam first so she can go review what the timeline is and what the process will be. And then I'm going to turn it over to public comment. And then we will have board discussion. And then I have action item, right?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Board. As you know, we did conduct the last recruitment. Many of you were on the board at that time and participated in that very robust engagement process that we conducted. I have put up the major milestones for now so that the public is able to see them, but I'll just walk you through it. I know you have it in front of you. We're hoping today that you approve the work plan from October 27th to December 8th. We will be working with the subcommittee to consider candidates for the CEO position, the interim CEO position, and the subcommittee will make a recommendation to the board. We anticipate the board appointing an interim CEO at your December 8th meeting. On October 27th, we will have a subcommittee meeting where we will review and provide input on stakeholder engagement, the public outreach plan, and getting input on the CEO position. You will note that we have blocked out November 1st through December 8th, more than a 30-day process to do that stakeholder engagement public outreach period. It took us about a month last time. That included meetings in all of the subregions. We met personally with much staff, policy advisors, et cetera. Then we will, when the subcommittee reviews all that stakeholder feedback, we will finalize the candidate profile and the job description, and that would then be approved at the end of December, on December 22nd. And from January, it would be January 2nd to February 23rd. We would have an 8-week application period. At that time, we'll be posting the position to all of the applicable ad sources. But the most important thing is we will be doing very aggressive, assertive outreach to individuals that fit the profile that the board is looking for. The next, in March, the subcommittee would then be reviewing the candidate recommendations, and then they would conduct semifinalist interviews on March 29th is what we have targeted. Typically, that's 4 to 5 candidates. They would then decide on recommendations of probably 2 finalists to recommend to the board. And then the board would have interviews with those 2 finalists on April 12th. We would then enter the negotiation phase, and it's anticipated that by May 10th, the board would be approving the new CEO's employment agreement, and with an anticipated start date the 1st of July with your new fiscal year.
And I want to say thank you to both Pam and Melissa and the team for helping me walk through this process. I went back and I reviewed what the process was before, and then we looked at best practices. And I want to share with all of you before I call public comment, I want to announce the members of the ad hoc committee for the CEO recruitment process. The reason why you don't have the member names before you is because I think all of you remember from the day that Hassan announced, and as we've been going through the process, I had said, if you're interested, let me know. And I had been collecting names. I didn't get a chance to get a hold of everybody, on time and stuff. And so I wanted to make sure that I heard from everybody so that if I didn't get all the people confirmed, that I could actually, follow up with like sort of tier 1, tier 2 and stuff. A couple of things that I did, I wanted to make sure that the 6 members representing the committees were from the 4 subregions, as well as the city of San Diego and the county, and that there was no quorum from another body. And so the folks that I have appointed to the subcommittee are from the North County Coastal are Mayor Krantz for the city of Encinitas. For North County Inland, Councilmember Melendez for the city, representing the city of Vista. For East County, I've asked Mayor Minto for representing the city of Santee. For South County, I've asked Councilmember Fisher from the city of Imperial Beach. And for the city of San Diego, Council President Elo Rivera, and then myself representing the county of San Diego. I want to thank each one of these members for agreeing to serve on the subcommittee. I've already, I shared with them that these dates, there's going to be a lot of dates, a lot of work, and they've all agreed to participate. So I am very grateful to them. So before we go to public discussion, for board member discussion, I'm going to ask the members for public comment.
Thank you. Our first public comment on this item, Rita Clement. Please come to the podium, and you will be followed by B. Miller.
Good morning, SANDAG board members and staff. My name is Rita Clement. I'm with San Diego 350. I live in Carolina Chavez's District 1 in Chula Vista and Nora Vargas's County District 1. Thank you for implementing a way for the public to participate in the selection to hire the new SANDAG CEO. It's important for voters to be able to address the issues that are most important to our community. As you know, an open public process is important during the climate crisis facing us. Decreasing vehicle miles traveled must be at the top of our list of solutions. We also thank you for introducing the $3 million proposal provided through the American Rescue Plan Act to help assist nonprofits and others who are
Thank you. Your time
assisting
has
people
expired.
at the border who are.
Our next public speaker on this item, B. Miller, will be followed by Truth.
Good morning, Chair Vargas and board members. My name is B. Miller with San Diego 350. While the committee looks for a replacement for CEO Hassan Akrada, we encourage it to find someone who will continue Mr. Akrada's 5 big moves. Thank you for your service, Mr. Akrada. The next CEO of SANDAG, the board and staff working on the 2025 regional plan must commit themselves to the equity and health goals that the board agreed upon with unweighted votes. As the climate crisis becomes more and more dangerous, SANDAG should improve measures in the 2021 regional plan that reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Instead, the progress has been scaled back. The next CEO's job will require somebody who can build bridges and get this agency back on track, working to improve equity and health in this region. We look forward to being involved in the selection process. Thank you.
Our next public speaker, Truth. Please come to the podium. You will be followed by Mark.
Hassan's not the only one that requires a behavior change, and that's why, of course, it's still CPS Consulting. $50,000 to find another of the same or worse. No to CPS. And no to outreach to community orgs. We don't need the 360 climate action cult pushing for an environmental extremist CEO. The CEO should be knowledgeable about San Diego County, and they should openly denounce any type of road use or charge tax. Todd, Hassan shined his LA tax mindset and nobody wanted it. Oh, wait a minute. What happened here? Oh, that clip is not working. Well, that's all right. I'm going to say it. Hassan said he's insubordinate and he doesn't care. He would do it again. And he also said he doesn't care if he's even here. He never wanted to be here in the first place. And if I find that clip, I'm actually going to play it anyways. Oh, here we go. Let's see.
The minute I feel this is not a civil discussion, but a discussion, I'm out. And frankly, never cared to be in to start with.
That's the reality. And an interim for 6 months is going to be even worse. Bad stuff.
Our next speaker, Mark, please come to the podium. You'll be followed by Mike.
Mark, well, it would seem like common horse sense, but evidently that didn't happen the first time. I suggest for a start that you pick someone who is an American citizen. Probably a good idea not to pick someone that was that went to university in the Soviet Union during the Soviet Union and was born in a dictatorship. Also, I didn't see anything there mentioned about mentioning choosing someone who believes in our sovereignty or our Constitution or wants the best for the United States. SANDAG is completely about forming the North American Union and globalization, which is a open UN agenda. That's what is really happening here. And I have no doubt whatsoever that you will pick the wrong person, or that this group that you're setting up will. And it doesn't cost $35,000 or $50,000 to pick someone. That's
Thank you. Your time has expired. Our next speaker, Mike, will be followed by Consuelo.
That was absolutely horrifying what I just heard about you not even caring, about not even wanting to be here. I know I'm paraphrasing that. You're paid an awful lot of money by the taxpayers of the 3.6 million people I estimate that live in this county. 3.6 million people. There's people sitting at this table that have gotten votes that are probably less than 6,000 of those people that have power, right? There's no equity in that, right? That's sitting at this table. It's absolutely amazing to me. Amazing to me. Horrifying. That you say that you can sit there and you can tell people that you feel that you're trusted to spend our money. I hope that we all can agree that we will not ever have another person that sits at this table like Nathan Fletcher ever again. Please, please see to it that you guys use your better judgment and see to it
Your
that you
time has
vet these
expired.
people a lot better.
Our final in-person public speaker, Consuelo, will be followed by the first virtual Steve Gelb.
I just wanted to ask, is one of the requirements that they bike to work or take the bus? Because that's what you guys are requesting, that the people of our county eventually have to do. And as you can see outside, we had a beautiful clear morning and now it's all gray. And there's a bunch of streaks, yet you guys never talk about chemtrails from airplanes, not from cow farts, but airplanes. So when is that going to ever be discussed or addressed? So I hope the next person that you do choose, well, I already know, I get it. Agenda 21, look it up. It's happening. I don't know if some of these people are aware of it. These are the people that represent you, San Diego County. Get involved. 3.4 million of us, and only the same handful of broken records.
Thank you. Your time expired. Our next public speaker, virtual Steve Gelb, will be followed by Emma Rodriguez. Steve, please go ahead.
Thank you, board members. I am genuinely sorry about the amount of abuse you need to hear from the public in this democratic process, and I respect the work that you do. I'm with San Diego 350, And I think that the most crucial question we can think about to ask candidates for the leadership position is how would you reduce regional VMTs to meet the cardboard goal of a 25% reduction by 2030? Consider that car tailpipes produce more planet heating gases than every power plant and the entire building sector combined. Decarbonization is a transportation problem first and foremost. Research has shown that expanding roads provides only short-term relief to traffic congestion, while increasing VMTs, air pollution, and urban sprawl. We need to follow the direction Hassan started in and pursue it more boldly and urgently. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Emma Rodriguez, will be followed by Paul the Bold. Emma, please go ahead. You are there you go.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Emma Rodriguez. I'd like to ask that the next CEO be sensitive to the impact of public transportation and safe streets for bikers and walkers on young people, and have ideas to expand and maintain SANDAG services for that group of people. That's why it's important to support Chairwoman Vargas in engaging the public on the selection process. And in particular, I'd like to ask that you hold hearings in schools and colleges to get our point of view. Thank you.
Our next public speaker, Paul the Bold, will be followed by the original draw. Please go ahead, sir.
On July 28th, Hassan Nakrata announced that he would leave SANDAG on December 29th. And SANDAG is just announcing a plan to replace him. That is not acceptable. The plan as presented takes from October 13th next July to appoint an interim CEO and then a permanent CEO. You want to take 3 months to just select an interim CEO. You want to consider input, then review it at a separate meeting? Why is this not an ongoing process? At least you wanted to hold a few meetings for community input. On December 22nd, you'll approve the ad campaign and job description for the new job CEO. Then next year, you'll accept applications through February, then interviews, no public input then. The finalist is announced on May 10th, but not enthroned until July.
Your time expired. Our next speaker, the original draw, you will be followed by Kira O'Loughlin. Please go ahead.
So smart, because we already know you guys know who you're going to pick, right? And that's why you got to pretend and use the same company to put in the same type of person, right? And obviously you don't want to get ahead of yourselves and do it till, I feel like you're rushing it. You could probably wait a little bit. I mean, whatever. But it's just sad because what you're probably going to do is pick another globalist who is in bed with the UN, just like all of you guys, and is terrorizing the people. It's not going to be somebody from San Diego or the United States, I'm sure, right? Should we ask Klaus Schwab? I'm sure that he would like to do that, because then you guys don't even have to travel and we can just implement what they need to while we're here, right? Which is enslavement, because everything you guys are doing is based off of total corruption. So whoever you're going to pick is going to be far worse than this guy. And that is terrifying. You know what? That's why the government needs to shut down and all of you guys need to go, because we could do it way better. Okay.
Your time expired. Our next public speaker, Kira O'Loughlin, will be followed by Mark Narcus Kramer. Kira, please go ahead.
Good morning, SANDAG Board of Directors. I'm Carol Laughlin, a researcher and policy advocate with the Center on Policy Initiatives and a member of the Transportation Equity Working Group. We advocate for a regional public transportation system that reduces pollution in EJ communities, grows local jobs, and increases mobility through our 10 transit lifelines. Hassan Nakrata was a visionary leader and champion for transportation equity. He helped push SANDAG to advance many of our 10 transit lifelines, including creating a regional plan that prioritized environmental justice, finalizing the Purple Line alignment to run through City Heights, initiating a process to prioritize anti-displacement measures in planning, and championing the Youth Opportunity Pass pilot. We urge SANDAG to hire a new visionary transportation planner to succeed Hassan. It's vital that environmental justice and transit-dependent communities have a say in the process, and we appreciate Chair Vargas for involving the public. Going forward, we also request that community representatives be in the hiring subcommittee to ensure SANDAG hires a leader who aligns with our vision for a cleaner environment, healthier communities, green jobs, and equity for all San Diego County residents. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Mark Narcus Kramer, will be followed by the final speaker, Jesse Ramirez. Please go ahead, Mark. You are self-muted.
My name is Mark Narcus Kramer. I'm a member of San Diego 350. The 2021 regional plan put forward by SANDAG is far-reaching and a bold plan that addresses San Diego transportation needs and deals with the existential problem of climate change. I'm asking the SANDAG board to select a chairperson that maintains the direction that Hassan has led. We know that this might be politically challenging since change often involves making choices that diverge from the status quo, and change is difficult. But if we dilute our commitment to reducing greenhouse gases, reducing congestion, and providing people with no cars, affordable and widespread transportation options, we fail, and the future of transportation in San Diego will be bleak. I lived in Washington, D.C., and if it hadn't built the subway system, the city would be paralyzed by now. I don't want that to happen to San Diego. Please find a CEO who follows the direction that Hassan has championed.
Our final speaker, Jesse Ramirez, please go ahead.
Good morning. Good morning, SANDAG Board of Directors. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Jesse Ramirez, and I am with City Heights CDC. I'd like to take some time to thank Hassan for his amazing work that he has done with SANDAG. He has really built up the reputation of the agency at an international level. He has done amazing things such as the Youth Opportunity Pass, and I think more importantly, he has fostered great relationships with the community. SANDAG is more accessible. Lots of folks come in and make public comment, even if they don't necessarily agree with the agency. So in terms of the SANDAG CEO process, I think we really need a visionary that can continue the work that Hassan has been doing. We need an open process that really involves also community-based organizations. And last but not least, maybe we don't need to look outside. Maybe we have someone within the agency that is experienced and can continue the work that SANDAG is doing. Thank you.
And that concludes the public comments.
Member comments, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I will just say thank you for putting the time and effort that you did into this, and would like to put a motion in to approve the requested action. That concludes the motion.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second. We have a couple of member comments. Let's see. Give me 1 second so I can write everybody down. Councilmember Fisher.
Thanks, Chair. I just want to mention how grateful I am to have a process that is transparent and that we're going to take the right amount of time to find the right person. I would just ask that when we do public outreach, that we include some information and education on what a dynamic organization this is. We're not your normal NPO. We do a lot more things than just manage some simple things that the other organizations around the country do. So I just think having the public understand how dynamic the agency is and the things that happen here and the requirements of our CEO and the expectations. So that's my comments. Thanks.
Thank you. Mayor Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I'm actually a little confused as to why this is even on our agenda, because back in September, on September 8th, the executive committee, which I am part of, approved an agenda which does not have this item on here. And it feels very unilateral. It doesn't feel collaborative at all to me. We now have, and by the way, I think we have two extremely competent deputy CEOs with Colleen Clembenson and then also Ray Major. I'm thinking that maybe there's even a possibility that we wouldn't have to have an executive director. I feel like there might be more of a collaborative approach that maybe we haven't done before. And if it is a policy decision, I think that the board should make a policy decision, but to have this as a discussion. And so I think this is going to be the most important decision that we make moving forward in this agency, bringing back a spirit of collaboration where people really have their voices heard, where you don't have ad hoc committees that are announced at a meeting when you literally just had maybe 6 months ago or 4 months ago, Councilmember Burkholder and I were both on an ad hoc committee that was specifically for the executive director's performance. And now there is a new committee with new board members, and my apologies, nothing against you, Councilmember Melendez, but not even discussed with seasoned board members that have been on this board for quite a while. And I feel like it is just an absolute tragedy that we are not going to change what we're doing at this board. We are going to continue having voices that are not heard or listened to. Maybe we're heard, but we're not listened to, and we don't have any input. We just sit here and we say, well, I don't agree with this, and then we just move on. And many times we're interrupted. It is just a very, very concerning time, in my opinion. Again, zero mention of this on the last agenda. That was a draft agenda that we approved in September. So with all due respect, Chair, I truly believe that you say that you want collaboration, which I'm glad that you say it, but your actions speak very differently when you do things like this, put this on the agenda, say, oh, and that we're going to use a firm that we've used before without even having any sort of RFP that goes out. We're just choosing a specific firm, and nothing against you, Pam. I appreciate you being here today. But the fact that we continue to do the same things that that make people feel that they're not heard and listened to, and actually true collaboration, that really it's very concerning to me. And so I hope that all of us really pay attention to this. We are not having our voices heard. We are not having collaborative efforts. And with that, that would be all I have to say today.
All right, and you continue to be on the evaluation committee, so hopefully you'll continue to participate and provide your feedback. Council member Burkholder.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just a couple of things. One kind of point of policy, which maybe Mr. Kirk could help me with. In your report, Chair, it says that at your direction, staff retain a CPS HR consulting. I'm just wondering if there is board policy that allows you to not bring before this board a vote, and you can direct staff solely to do things. I'm not familiar with that policy. Excuse me?
Exactly how, what was the chair that did that before?
I believe that was under Chair Roberts.
So Chair Roberts, and I think Mayor Pinto, you were here too before? I think all of you voted on that process before, right? Who was here in the process before? Can you raise your hand if you were on the board when you did the same process before? I think Mayor Jones was here too. Oh, she left. Oh, that's too bad. I think all of you, raise your hand if you voted for the same process last time when this happened. Please raise your hand.
But you just, I'm not asking about the vote.
Oh, no, I just want to make sure that I want to be clear so that people understand that this process has taken place before.
I'm not asking about the process.
No, because I want to make sure that you know that where the president took place, because I went back and I did research, and it was very clear with the executive committee and legal counsel, and it said, can you please explain to me how this process has worked in the past? Because that's how usually it works. I did that, right? And that's what you gave me. Okay. So any other questions?
I'm not asking how the process works. I'm asking if you have the authority to oversee the board of directors.
Chair Burkholder, there's two things that I would, excuse me, Councilmember Burkholder, two things I would point to that are relevant to your question. First of all, your bylaws vest in the chair the general supervision over board and committee affairs. Secondly, while normally we go out and we do a competitive procurement for most consultant services, there's something unique about CPS HR in that they are a JPA. Effectively, they are a collaboration of government entities, so they're a public entity. And one of SANDAG's part of SANDAG's governing legislation, PUC 132-352.4, allows the agency to contract with other public agencies upon terms and conditions that the agency finds are in the best interest of the consolidated agency. So with those two, this being an administrative step toward filling the CEO position, it's my opinion that that falls within the purview of the chair to give that direction, that that's in the best interest of the agency to move forward with CPSHR as she has.
Okay, thank you. Could you send me that information, please? Email that.
I'd be
to me?
happy to, yeah.
Thank you. I just don't think that awarding contracts should be something that the chair does, but I understand the precedents, and if you could maybe attach that as well, that would be great, so that I can further understand that. The only other thing is, I'm so confused about the ad hoc committee. As Mayor Jones said, we did have a meeting about that, and so I was understanding.
Just so to clarify your confusion, the committee, the ad hoc committee that I created was so that SANDAG doesn't have a process for an evaluation process for the CEO. And so I invited you and a couple of other members to help me create a process for an evaluation process so that we can have something that's formal. Because as you know, this board had not reviewed the CEO for like a year or two, which is not appropriate. And so I created a subcommittee to create an actual process, which you're still a member. However, I put that committee on hold because the CEO announced that he's resigning, or that he's like retiring, right? Excuse me. And so he's retiring. And so as a result, I had to move forward with a process so that we could do a recruitment. And so the other one's on hold. We will be meeting shortly, but I think we have to make sure, based on the priorities of this board, right now we have to do the recruitment process. And as I mentioned before, I had to do that based on a couple of different things. So is that clear?
Yeah, thank you for that, Chair. And finally, just making sure I understand Mayor Jones correctly, she sounded like she was proposing the deputy CEO's co-chief executive during the interim. And I'm wondering about policy relative to that, Mr. Kirk.
There's the interim and then there's final. I'm not sure exactly if she was speaking to a permanent solution of two deputy CEOs, or she's not here now to comment on that. I'll say that as a permanent solution, that's inconsistent with SANDAG's governing statutes. Again, those point to the board appointing a CEO, not a group of deputy CEOs. So it would not be viable in the long term. There certainly has been precedent that the position of CEO has been vacant. And in the vacancy of the CEO, the deputy CEOs are enabled to act with the full power of the CEO.
So in the event Mr. Ocrado wanted to move back to LA next week, we would appoint the two deputies interims. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Well, that it's an option.
Go ahead, please.
So that's an option, but it's not the option before us. The option before us is that we actually have an opportunity until December. There's a lot of coulda, shoulda, wouldas. Hassan has given us an opportunity until December to create a plan. We're using best practices. And so as a result, because we have a lot of talented people and a lot of executives who are talented in SANDAG, I want to make sure that we are fair, and that if there's any executives who are interested in pursuing the CEO role, that they all have the opportunity to do that. If we appoint any of these CEOs, I mean, these executives right now, temporary CEOs, you kind of give people the opportunity to, the sort of the leg up, as they say. And so what we want to do, if anybody's interested, they apply, they go through the process, and then they also get to apply for the CEO job. That's where it came from. These are all best practices. I've done numerous CEO jobs. I'm not doing this in a vacuum. I'm doing this from feedback from our HR, experts. And so I don't know, Melissa, if you want to jump in and give any feedback on this.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I can certainly speak to best practice, which would be that if there are candidates that are interested in competing for a role, that it could be perceived as unfair if those individuals are serving in an interim capacity. I believe that's what I heard from Chair Vargas.
Yeah, thank you. And that's not what I'm proposing. I don't think what Mayor Jones was proposing. We were proposing co-chairs for the interim. And also, just best practices does not save taxpayer dollars. And I just don't understand a lot of times when we have the talent sitting right in front of me, why don't we utilize the talent?
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Tony Khan? No, that wasn't you. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just take exception to Mr. Kirk's comment and drawing that correlation between general supervision does not equate to unilateral authority. And in the recent past, you were asked to describe what the body, how the body's defined, and you defined it as the board, not as an individual person. Thank you.
Okay.
Last time around, I had the privilege of working with Pam and Melissa on the recruitment process. I know them to be more than capable. I'm curious, Pam, do you have handy how the timeline of the last recruitment compares to what's being proposed here?
This is very similar. As you recall, we spent the month of January when we started the recruitment doing the engagement process. I presented a report to all of you at your retreat in February of that year. And then after that, we started advertising. We advertised, I do want to believe we advertised for 6 weeks rather than 8. But I do think with the position of this magnitude, that doing the 8-week gives us the opportunity to really ensure that, you know, this could be an international search. It depends on what the board is looking for. But it's very similar to what we did last time.
It seems more protracted in my recollection, looking from now until potentially next July, a start date. I sure would like to see if there's a way to abbreviate the process without sacrificing anything in the process. But thank you, and I know you'll do a terrific job again.
I will share, council member, and I appreciate that. You had a very thorough process, and I want you to know that I went back and looked at all your notes very thoroughly. And I also made sure that we thought about the fact that we can use technology this time around. And it really helped us really think about what that looks like so that we can actually have people provide information through technology. So I just want to say thank you for that. Councilmember White?
Yes, thank you. I want to echo the concerns of Ms. Jones and Ms. Burkholder, and in the spirit of collaboration, respectfully request that either one of those representatives be added to the ad hoc subcommittee.
Mayor?
This one? Okay.
Sorry, the other
That's
mayor.
Okay. I've said over there, I know this ain't easy. Thank you, Chair. I wanted to ask staff with regard to the interim appointment, when does that application process start? Is that after today's, assuming there's a positive vote in a minute?
I believe we're going to be meeting with the committee after the meeting on the 27th. And so we would start that process immediately thereafter.
So that timeline does feel tight because it looks like there's a potential vote in 2 weeks, maybe, for an appointment of an interim?
No, the interim wouldn't be appointed until December.
Okay, so that period of the 27th of October to December 8th is similar in that you're going to get applications.
Correct.
That the committee will vet, and then a recommendation will come hopefully before December 8th, right? We're looking for an appointment before.
Interim recruitments do take a shorter period of time, as I'm sure you're aware, because we're looking for those people who are typically annuitants, they're retired, and they step into these roles. And so, you know, we know them, those individuals, and speak with them about if they have an interest, and typically bring 4 or 5 forward, but we don't have that long period where we need it to be public and advertising for that 30 to 60 days.
And that's precisely why I'm asking, as I recognize it's a bit of a time crunch. I would hope that regardless of what board members feel or think, you understand that having leadership of this organization is very important. And making sure that we have a quality person fill in, I believe that won't be difficult. Just understanding that process and understanding that you believe that you can fill in this position in that period of time. Okay, maybe just last general comment, just because there was public comment to this issue. This organization does not discriminate based on someone's nationality. We have no preferred lists of universities from which people can apply. And importantly, I would hope that as we make a recruitment for someone of the caliber of this organization, whatever size city you represent, you surely understand that having a functioning NPO is very important to our collective quality of life of our residents. And your behavior will absolutely determine whether or not people choose to apply for this position. So I'd encourage you to consider that as you act over the next number of months while we try and do this recruitment and make sure that we get a high quality candidate here. We need a functioning SANDAG, and you are all contributors, or you're actually retracting or detracting from this process. I'm hoping we get high quality applicants, and I hope board members will keep that in mind as they act over the next number of months.
Thank you, Mayor. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to note for the record here that the nominees you've put forward, or the potential group that you put forward, includes folks from the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, independents, and folks from across the region. It's clear that you put time and thought into this. I appreciate that. And with that, I will request that you call the question.
Okay, please vote.
There we go.
And that item passes with 16 yeses and 3 nos.
Wonderful. I'm really excited about this. And all of you are going to be part of the process. I want to make sure everybody knows that even though you may not be in the subcommittee, I'm excited about the work that we're going to do together and about the future of SANDAG. So thank you everyone for your participation, and thank you to the team at SANDAG for all the work that you do. With that, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. I'm going to turn it over to Tessa for public comment.
Thank you. Our first public commenter on the consent agenda, Mark, please come to the podium.
Mark, first of all, did the mayor just state that the new CEO doesn't have to be from America, from the US, not even an American citizen? Could you confirm that? Like, is that what you just said about nationals?
Can you please stick to the public?
Yeah, I'm asking the mayor a question.
I'm going to ask you to speak on the item that you're speaking
about housing. About housing. Okay, no, shut up. About housing. Well, you are interrupting me. About housing.
This warning, this is your second warning. This is your third warning. I'm going to take a break. Everybody take a break, and you're going to be removed from the.
About housing.
We're taking a break.
I just said about housing. I have a breath.
You have to go.
What? I don't get to speak?
No, she's kicking me out.
She's kicking me out. Of the meeting, you mean altogether? Of the meeting.
I love it when people have different opinions than me, but you are not going to disrespect any board member, any staff member, as long as I'm here. So I'm going to turn it over to Tessa. Please go ahead and bring other people for public comment. I'm going to make it very clear. If you do not stay on topic, I'm going to give you 3 warnings. And if you're not staying on topic, your mic will be turned off. Go ahead.
The next public speaker, Truth, please come to the podium. You'll be followed by Mike.
Always have to clean everything up, man. Item 3, instead of the minutes saying I spoke regarding various SANDAG issues, I would like them to say that SANDAG is full of various issues. Also, since the audio cut some of mine and Mark's item 10 speech, the full transcript should be included. Item 4, 12.3 million in Housing Acceleration Program grant money for developments that reduce VMT. The official story is that only Stack and Packs can do that. They must make people not need a car for groceries. And now Stack and Packs will pop up even onto state fairgrounds. Note of that. Project considerations are done by the SANDAG Data Science Department, and I chalk that up to computer modeling with a biased program. And item 6, September 7th, Jack Shu begged White House Intergovernmental Affairs Director Perez for money. While Jack tried to justify driver tracking taxes by saying phone companies already track people, so who cares? That's like saying, well, this person stole, so it's okay if everyone steals. And September 9th, we all had to sit through a Zito report. Nah, I'm just kidding. I actually like David. He worries about people being hangry. He's such a nice guy. Note all of the items. Note censorship, all of those kinds of things.
Thank you. Our next public speaker, Mike, please come to the podium. You will be followed by Consuelo.
Good afternoon, morning, wherever we're at now. Yeah, this whole table's got to get their act together. I mean, this level of dysfunction that happens at this table, and you guys are talking about housing people, right? Like this house is messed up, and you guys are trying to get out there and try to make houses for other folks that are messed up to begin with. Like messed up and messed up is messed up and messed up upon messed up. This is just all bizarre to me. And it's pretty crazy when there's literally nepotism at this table that's sitting here. There's people that I feel that are illegitimate at this table that's sitting here amongst you guys. And it's absolutely awful that we're sitting here playing around with billions of dollars of taxpayer money, and there's illegitimate people sitting at this table. And it's troubling, and I hope that we can get to the bottom of it, because it's a lot of money and people depend on
Thank you. Your time
clean
expired.
housing.
Our next speaker, Consuelo, will be followed by the first virtual speaker, the original draw.
I just wanted to address the housing, affordable housing. Just as I spoke, I touched base on at the Board of Supervisors meeting when they were speaking on homelessness. It's like they were talking about evidence-based blah, 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 things that worked. And I questioned our board, whatever happened to Project 25? That was 100% of those people that were in that program were successful. And what happened? It was defunded because it was working. Because all the system wants is the people to be reliant on them. That's all they want. They want them to be reliant. They want slaves. They want tax cattle, and they want nobody to question, nobody to be here to, I mean, honestly, maybe a few of you represent the people, but I feel like a lot of you have gotten the balls to stand up to them.
Thank you.
because of
Your
us.
time has expired. Our next speaker, the original draw, will be followed by the final commenter, Paul the Bold. Original draw, please go ahead.
There's always an illusion of choice, as you board members can see, and whoever's recording the minutes sucks at it. They actually don't really record anything. I mean, It's very sad. So if anybody really went back and looked, they'd be like, I don't really know what was said. Who knows? You should be able to, determine that. But it's so great when you guys sit here and you're just like, we're going to accelerate housing. I don't see any affordable housing in that project, but, we do fail miserably across the county, providing affordable housing for people. But, you accelerate it providing, all of the homes that people still even can't afford. And I'm sure you're not going to get it done in the 2 years. So this is just a bunch of money laundering. It's a big old scam. And, you got to reduce the VMTs, which is, total slavery. But people just need to see it. And it's so much great when there's discord on this board because you're showing people exactly what's going on. And it is so good, Nora. You're so good.
Thank you. Your time expired. Our final speaker on this item, Paul the Bull, please go ahead.
Can you? Oh, just.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Thanks for unmuting me. 1 month. SANDAG 101. SANDAG 101 should include that anything billed by it as independent may be run by it anyway. I looked at what is probably the meat of the report, the status on pages 5 and 6. The first issue is where it says progress updates are brought quarterly to the ITAC. Item 7 at the April 12 meeting being the most recent. We should have one in July then. So much for transparency. Then in the actual list of triennial report audits, it has 26 items, 22 are still in progress and only 4 are complete. This is pretty serious, especially considering
Your time expired. That concludes the public comments. And prior to a motion on this item, I'd like to state for the record that item 5 on the consent agenda was amended during the executive committee meeting to amend the October 27 agenda to remove item 12, the San Diego double track item, and to add a new item on clean mobility options grant.
I don't see any member comment. Request.
Approval.
Okay, is there a second?
A second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
That item passes unanimously.
Okay. I'm doing a time check, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to item number 8 first. Item number 8 is, this is a time and place to set for public hearing on the amendment to the 2021 Regional Plan and its Supplemental Environmental Impact Report. The staff presentation will be heard first, and then we will take a public comment. After public comment, we will hear comments from the board members, and then I will close the public hearing. After the public hearing, we are being asked to certify the supplemental EIR and adopt the amendment. As a reminder, all those wishing to speak need to submit their speaker slip to the clerk of the board or raise their hand online before the end of the staff presentation. I'm going to turn it over to Antoinette for the presentation.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Good morning. Happy to be here to present the final step in the amendment to the 2021 Regional Plan to remove the regional road usage charge. Joining me for the presentation today is Kirsten Yucatil. Kirsten is an expert in environmental impact reports, and she is a senior planner on our environmental compliance team who oversees the EIRs for the regional plan. Also, Sam Folk, who's our in-house legal expert on all things regional plan, in case you have any questions. Before I turn the presentation over to Kirsten, I'm going to do a very quick recap of how we got here. Some of you were not members of the board last year when this process started, so I want to make sure everybody has an understanding of what's happened to date. So on September 23rd, 2022, last September, the board was presented with 3 options for removing the road usage charge from the regional plan. And ultimately, the board selected the second option, which was to remove the road usage charge, replace the revenues, conduct an air quality conformity analysis for federal requirements, and to do the supplemental EIR in compliance with CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act. The board selected the section option, which was very focused amendment because it was able to be accomplished within a year, presented the least amount of legal risk because the scope of the amendment is very specific. The draft amendment was brought to you at your board meeting on June 23rd. And at the time, staff confirmed that the amendment would achieve the state greenhouse gas emission reduction target, 18.6%, that we would meet all of our requirements for air quality conformity analysis, and that there were no significant impacts to any of the transportation network performance measures or social equity. Now we're at the final step, which is the draft supplemental EIR. Once Kirsten presents the process and the findings from the EIR and we hold the required public hearing, you'll be asked to adopt 2 different resolutions today. One resolution will be to certify the supplemental EIR. The second resolution would be to adopt the air quality conformity determination and the amendment to the 2021 regional plan. And these actions then allow us to submit the amendment to the state and federal government. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Kirsten to walk you through the supplemental EIR.
Good morning, Chair Vargas and board members. My name is Kirsten Yucatel, and I am a senior planner in the Environmental Compliance Group. And I am here to present the supplemental EIR that has been prepared for the proposed amendment. Before turning to the SEIR itself, I would like to call your attention to 3 documents that are in your packet. They'll be referenced in the presentation. They are the CEQA findings of fact, the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, and the statement of overriding considerations. The purpose of the supplemental EIR is to identify the environmental impacts of removing the regional RUC and identify feasible means of mitigating those impacts. The draft SEIR was released for public comment. 21 written comments were received. All of those comments are reproduced along with written responses in Appendix F of the supplemental EIR. None of the comments necessitated substantive revisions from draft to final of the supplemental EIR. In order to identify the environmental impacts of removing the regional RUC, the supplemental EIR evaluated 5 resource areas: air quality, energy, greenhouse gas emissions, noise and vibration, and transportation. 3 of these areas identified either new or substantially more severe, significant and unavoidable environmental impacts as a result of removing the regional RUC. A full description of all of the impacts identified in the supplemental EIR can be found in the findings of fact in your packet. Because the supplemental EIR identifies new or substantially more severe, significant impacts, an additional mitigation measure has also been included in the supplemental EIR. Details of that mitigation measure can be found in the mitigation monitoring and reporting program in your packet. Even with this additional mitigation measure, removing the regional RUC will still result in significant and unavoidable environmental impacts. And so your packet includes the statement of overriding considerations, which identifies the benefits of adopting the proposed amendment and weighs those benefits against the adverse environmental impacts. As Antoinette already reviewed, subject to your action today, next steps would be to submit the revised SCS to CARB and the air quality conformity determination to EPA and the U.S. Department of Transportation for their review and acceptance and approval. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I am going to go ahead and turn it over to public comment.
Thank you. Our first public comment on this item, Truth, please come to the podium.
You know, can't we just ask directly, Nora directly if the amendment is going to be accepted since she's on CARB? Bill, it was funny to hear you say on the news that you basically agree with me that the regional plan should be scrapped, or in my perspective, run over. GHGs and VMT will not be lowered by any regional plan because paid parking actually makes people drive more, as they'll keep circling for the free spots. And toll lanes make people drive more and take a longer route to avoid the toll. Alternative number 3 reads, quote, a land use pattern that restricts all regional growth to mobility hubs, end quote. And by 2050, SANDAG wants, quote, to advance smart cities, end quote. There's that technocratic tyranny of digital tracking and control that has not been removed from the plan. From this amendment, SANDAG received a total of 77 comments from a population of 3.8 million. That's only 0.049% of the population who have any clue. So credit to Mary D for this idea. I think all cities with real reps should pass a resolution against any road tax of any kind at any level, local, state, regional, and federal. Hope you guys will consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. Your time expired. Our next public commenter, Mike, will be followed by Consuelo. Mike, please come to the podium.
Funny, we're talking about this regional transit or tax, whatever form, pay by the mile thing still. It's kind of crazy because I think I remember sometime back a few months ago when a member of this table was voted out by its people in the city because that person was in favor of removing the regional tax. And to find out that when you guys went through and had that vote last meeting, the replacement of that mayor voted the same way that he would have voted, I think. So like, why did they pull that little vote and oust that mayor from the seat that was right here with you guys? Like, I think this was back in like February, maybe March when all this happened, but this all goes to the public trust issue and that you guys are completely
Your time
dysfunctional.
expired. Our next speaker, Consuelo, will be followed by Michael Brando.
I'm going to definitely piggyback off that and just say how the public does not trust many of you. And back to that whole, it's per mile. So we have to catch that they had it per mile so they could come back at it with something totally different. It's all about the wording as we pay attention to how government works. There's always loopholes and they're always sneaky on how they go about deceiving the people. What else was I going to say about this? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Agenda 21, here we come.
Our next public speaker, Michael Brando, will be followed by the first virtual commenter, the original draw.
Referencing this amendment, I want to dovetail back to the whole regional plan. It needs to be completely scrapped, but I found it interesting that there's a comment in here that says a land use pattern that restricts all regional growth to the mobility hubs. That's interesting because we hear the talk about freedom of mobility, and all of this is about eliminating freedom of mobility. Also in this presentation they just went through, they talked about air quality. Again, Consuelo mentioned it. Todd, all of you, how come no one ever talks about the geoengineering if we're talking about breathing? Nora, you're on the California Air Resources Board. I've actually called them and asked them too in relationship to this about the aerosolization. It's never addressed. And by the way, Consuelo is right, and even Nora, you confirmed this. This is all tied to the UN, Agenda 21. In this book here, the children's version of it, it describes babies as bombs, that babies are killing the planet. Look into what you're involved in.
Your time expired. Our next public commenter, the original draw, will be followed by the final public commenter, Paul the Bold. Please go ahead, the original draw.
Again, the illusion of choice. It's so funny because as long as you pretend that it's going away, then when the state and all these other, boards that like Nora's on put it through, they'll be like, well, we had no choice. We absolutely had no choice. But you guys love to fearmonger people. It's so great. It's just like with the invisible killer dots that go around and kill people, right? It's not the injections that you offer up after that. But it's just interesting because you're like, noise vibration. We have to be so terrified of that. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And the air quality. Yeah. Why don't we ever address, those things? And, it's just interesting that you guys want to sit here and do this whole UN agenda by putting us in 15-minute cities where we're going to have to get a permit to leave and not be able to see families, right? And there's not going, you're just going to continue to give us sewer water and all that. People just need to pay attention. This is all by design. It's all a plan. It's all an illusion of choice that they're pretending that you have actually a choice when they're not giving you one.
Your time expired. Our final public commenter, Paul the Bold, please go ahead.
Thank you. It's it's time to do what you promised in January and remove the road user charge once and for good. That's why people don't trust you, and they won't trust you as long as you keep doing this to us. I mean, you still have a thing up on your a statement up on your website that you'll consider removing the road user charge at the next meeting. How long do we have to listen to and read all this BS? I mean, talk about not trusting you. And I hope you want to restore the trust and faith we have in you. But this is ridiculous. Why are we putting our taxpayer dollars on the line just to hear all this BS that goes on and on and on, like the woman in a cartoon?
Your time expired. That concludes the public comments.
Thank you. No, sorry. Go ahead, council member.
Thank you. I have a question for Antoinette Meyer. Antoinette, I read this CEQA document and the findings very carefully. I got up extra early this morning to make sure that I read it all. And what I saw was that the greenhouse gas targets, even though there's more emissions with the road use charge removed, we're still meeting the 2035 state target goals. I saw that as good. What I also read was that the state has imposed a new target since the 2021 RTP was submitted, and that's on particle matter 10. It's PM, that's what PM is particle matter, yeah. PM 10 and PM 2.5. And that with this road use charge removed, we don't meet that, but that we also don't know whether the previous one was, because this is a new target since the 2021 was submitted. So those two together, and reading the whole CEQA, even though there's a little more greenhouse gas and we don't know about these PMs, I didn't see anything in there to give CARB, the California Air Resources Board, any reason to reject this. Do you see any reason why CARB may reject this? Is there any risk?
Well, certainly there is always a risk, but we've done consultation with CARB throughout the entire process. We're meeting the target, and we have identified additional mitigation. So we believe we are in a good position to have CARB approve the amendment for the plan, but we will keep you posted. Normally there's a Q&A process after we submit, and we'll keep you posted on the progress.
Okay, and one tiny follow-up question. Something I've been pushing is this notion of reducing our vehicle minutes traveled. The idea that you could go 5 miles and if it takes you an hour, you're going to produce so much more greenhouse gas than if you go 5 miles and it takes you 10 minutes or however long it takes. And, built into all of this and all of the metrics, do you see a light at the end of the tunnel where we might actually get to vehicle minutes traveled in addition to vehicle miles traveled and get credit for reducing congestion and better engineering where we eliminate bottlenecks in traffic?
I have not seen that in CARB scoping plan. They're still very much focused on vehicle miles traveled. So I do believe that the vehicle miles traveled is what we will be held accountable for in future regional plans at this point.
Well, let's keep talking about it.
Thank you, Chair. I would move approval of this item with the condition that we prioritize the projects that were included in the 1987 Transnet program, which was prioritized by the voters in the 2004 Transnet Extension Ordinance, specifically the I-578. Thanks.
Can somebody clarify that? for me?
So I believe what the question is, if we can't make any substantive changes to the plan today, because that's not what was analyzed in the CEQA document. However, the specific project that you mentioned is included in the regional plan and is a priority project. So I believe, Councilmember Burkholder, what you're asking for is already part of the plan and has been analyzed in the CEQA document. Does that?
Yeah, I just prefer the specific language to be there. That's all I'm asking for.
I guess what she's saying is that the action has to be done this way for legal reasons, right?
So then when is that action where we?
So the action is right there?
No, I'm saying in the future. Because I'm just asking for a condition of approval. So that's not okay.
That was not specifically, and maybe we have to go to the legal team here, but that was not specifically part of what was analyzed in the plan. I guess one of the things just to bring up here, we've been talking a lot also with the board about the 2025 plan that will be coming forward next month to you with what we've heard, what the priorities are. That's really the place where then we can incorporate that into the analysis that we bring forward to you with the 2025 plan. Specific language about prioritizing a project here, maybe the team wants to weigh in, but I think it could be problematic with respect to the analysis that we've done.
Just at a very high level, when you talk about prioritizing projects, that may well impact the timing on when certain things happen. And while some of those may be very minor, others may be very significant. So I believe that the idea of prioritizing projects may well be a change from what was analyzed in the environmental document. And we have our regional plan expert and the Sahagi law firm online to help advise us. I'll ask Samantha or Al Hirschon to comment further on that.
I'm sorry, one of the things I will make clear here, the scope of work that we set out to do with this amendment did not include reprioritizing projects. It was very specific to remove the road usage charge, make sure that we addressed that funding gap. We came up with the solution for how to do the funding gap, and that was the scope of the work. So any reordering of projects and the timing can actually affect greenhouse gas emissions. So that's why we brought that scope to you. And we specifically said this will take this period of time and would cost this much money. If we're going to do this, then reprioritizing or reordering timing of projects, that then becomes a higher level of analysis. So that's why we're bringing this to you today, which is simply the 2021 plan with the road usage charge removed, as this board has requested. And then everything else that we did was truly just to make sure that we're still meeting the greenhouse gas target so that we can send that off to the state and still continue state funding and send it off to the feds so that we can continue to get the federal dollar. So that's why.
Yeah, I understand. I think everybody is sitting at this table understands that I will not stop until the I-5 and 78 is done. And so I like to have it reflected orally and in writing as many times as possible. So while I understand what you're saying, I do recognize that there are limitations to what we're being asked to do today. Thank you.
So Councilmember, I think for you to be, in order for it to be effective, right? Because you want to be effective in the process. I think, why don't you go ahead and meet with the team so that you can map out where in the process of, as you're moving forward. So for instance, and I'm going to share with folks that at the next meeting on October 27th, we're going to be prioritizing projects so that you can elevate it there. And then if it's the priority of the board, right? Because one board member could prioritize something, but it may not be the decision of the board, because in the end, the board decides what becomes a priority, right?
Absolutely.
And so that it's actually, so that you can make sure that you elevated, we have a conversation, and then as a board, we decide whether it's not what we want or don't want to do. And so that it's, you can plan it out where in the different levels of the process, it's more efficient, and that way you're not in a space where you want to do it and it's not the best place to do it.
Sure.
If
Thank
it's
you,
helpful
Chair.
for you, I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think this has been on the book since 1987. So let's look at it again. Thank you.
You got it. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Real quickly,
Wait,
Antoinette,
let me go, Mayor Minto. I'm sorry.
are you up?
Okay, I just want to say, Molly, that I support you on your condition, under the condition that you also, we would put in here the 52 interchange, the I-15 interchange, the 67, and so you can see the, where that would go if we added that today. I think when we go to the plan and we start doing that next month that's when we can, pull out the claws and start, clawing each other's back to see who gets to the top.
I'll be sure to have my nails sharpened for that meeting. Thank you, John.
All right.
Well, since we're delineating, let's not forget 805, 94, and
All right,
54.
focus, everybody, focus. I'm
Real
all
quickly,
right.
Antoinette, in the supplemental, do we address, and you did mention alternate funding sources? Do those include tax increases to bridge that gap?
There was no additional tax introduced with the revenue replacement for the road usage charge.
And how are we going to replace the revenue without going into too deep into the
I'm going
woods?
to ask my colleague Susan Huntington, who's the Director of Budget and Finance, to come up and explain what the replacements are.
So at the time that we developed the microphone.
It's on. So at the time that we developed the plan and approved the plan, we didn't know the impact of all the discretionary grants that we would be awarded through the IIJA bump up and transportation investment. So when we went back and pulled out the RUC, couple things to note. We had more revenue than cost in the original plan. And so when we removed the $14 billion and we looked at the amount of money that we were able to receive through the IIJA discretionary grants, that is, we changed our leveraging amount in the near term to reflect those additional monies coming into the region. And the fact that the costs were so much lower than the revenue to start with, that was how we made up the difference.
So we had more income than anticipated for the projects we have delineated
In the short term.
in the short term.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Second.
I think Mayor Minto and Councilmember Musgrove made the point already, but I would say if this was agendized to reprioritize, we would have a long line of people here to talk about projects. So I appreciate if we could just stay focused on a very clean motion related to the actions that were agendized.
Before I get into my points, I would have probably favored prioritizing all those projects, but it would probably reduce our greenhouse gas reduction down to maybe 18.4, 18.3. So we wouldn't be able to round up to 19, and CARB would definitely turn down this amendment. But I want to, for the record, make a few points. And first, it has to do with in the statement of overriding considerations, there's a portion that talks about this amendment may reduce costs of transportation or the cost of transportation for low-income populations. I'm going to ask our economist and Deputy CEO Ray Majors if he can explain the difference of the different kinds of road use charge we have: gas tax, a VMT charge, and what's regressive, what's progressive, what's in between.
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Shu. When we talk about taxation, it's always calculated as a percentage or as compared to income. And so when we talk about a tax being regressive, we're looking at taxes like sales taxes, property taxes, user fees, like parking, for instance, are all regressive taxes because as it's the more a person makes, the less they pay as a percentage of their income. So that makes it a regressive tax. A proportional tax would be something like a flat tax, like we've talked about, and they talked about doing a 10% like flat income tax. A progressive tax is one like your income tax, where right now the more money you make, the higher percentage of your income you pay in income tax. So that is a progressive tax. So a gas tax, when it was first implemented, was regressive, because a person who would make more, who made more money would pay less as a percentage of their income. So the gas tax has always been regressive. But what's happened recently, and the VMT fee or the tax would replace that, it would also be regressive. But what's happened is with the gas taxes, with automobiles changing in terms of how much gas mileage they get, what we've seen is that people with lower incomes have automobiles that are actually less efficient, and so it costs them more even as a proportion of their income. And so a gas tax right now is more regressive than a VMT fee would be. And I hope that answers your question.
It does answer my question, and I will contest that in the secret document, in the overriding considerations, that's contradictory to what was just stated. In fact, in October of 2021, the same question was essentially asked of Ray Majors. He gave a shorter answer, but essentially gave us the same answer, that we need to move away from the gas tax and move to another form that is less regressive. And in the overriding considerations, we have statements there saying that this amendment would be better for poor people, which on the contrary, it's the other way around. So I would say that that statement in overriding considerations, at least is questionable, if not wrong. I have another question to Kirsten that has to do with mitigation and emissions. So from the reading, I get the feeling that with taking out the road use charge as planned in the regional plan, that this amendment would increase particulate matter 2.5 and diesel particulate matter, and I guess the larger one, 10. Is that correct, that it would increase those pollutants?
There is an increase in the pollutants, and there are new sensitive receptors exposed to PM10 and to toxic air contaminants.
Correct. And there's a mitigation that is planned that's part of that, correct?
There is a mitigation measure to develop a regional climate action plan with a priority phase to be completed by April of 24, and the entirety of the structure to be completed by October of 25.
Correct. Is there any documentation that the mitigation that is planned in the amendment would offset the increase in health impacts, that is more cancer and more asthma cases?
I would say that the regional CAP will develop a number of strategies, policies, projects, and programs that will reduce greenhouse gases and improve air quality. The plan is in development now, so we don't know exactly what those are, but the intent of that regional CAP is to reduce greenhouse gases and to improve air quality.
Yeah, I'm looking for a shorter answer. There's going to be more pollution due to this amendment, and there's going to be more illness. Do we have any documentation that the mitigation will offset those increased cancer cases and asthma cases?
No.
Thank you. So for those two reasons, I think it's fairly clear this document, this CEQA amendment is flawed. I'll be voting against it. I think we'll be moving forward with an amendment that goes against even the resolution that was passed the last meeting we had for our plans to reduce health impacts, not increase them. And this is very clear to me that this amendment is going to increase illness, increase costs for poor people in our region, and that's not the direction we should be going. And lastly, I know we've been working with this 19% by 2035. The new target, I'll repeat it over and over, the new target is 25% VMT reduction by 2030. That's CARB's in CARB scoping plan. It is backed by legislation, and it is the state's target, and that's what we should be working for. That's a very hard target. That's 3-4% per year starting this year. And I don't know how we're going to get to there, but to me, that's the challenge before us, as well as all the other MPOs in California, but I hope we realize that it's the target we have to work towards. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have a motion and a second on the floor, but I want to make sure that I follow the guidelines. So I'm going to close the public hearing. The action that's requested today is to adopt the resolution 2024 to 2026 and 2027, certifying the supplemental EIR and adopting the amendment. And so now we can vote.
That item passes with 1 no, 1 member agency absent.
Okay. All right, the next item, I'm going to do a time check. So I'm going to go ahead and do item number 7. So item number 7 is the Transit Independent Taxpayer Oversight Committee. I want to just welcome, I know Mr. Franklin, I know you've been waiting, so thank you so much. And I know you have a hard stop. So our chair for the Transit Independent Taxpayer Oversight Committee here today give us an overview of the work that the ITAC does to oversee our transit dollars are being used and ensure that transit funding is invested through the region. So, sir, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Chair. Just a question to staff about advancing the slides.
This one here.
Oh, great. Green button. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chair Vargas, and good morning, members of the board. Again, I'm Jonathan Frankel. I have the pleasure of chairing the Independent Taxpayer Oversight Committee, or ITAC, here at SANDAG. And I'm pleased to have the opportunity to provide just a brief overview of what we do at the ITAC and present our annual report, of course, which we present to you every year. See if I can use this. Perfect. So the ITAC was created by voters in 2004. It's actually part of the Transnet Extension Ordinance, and it was established to provide an enhanced level of accountability and oversight on the expenditure of our supplemental sales tax, our local funds. The ITAC has a wide variety of responsibilities. We work to ensure that the expenditures are made consistent with the requirements of the ordinance. We also develop recommendations for improvements to the financial integrity and performance of all of our Transnet-related projects and programs. And we also monitor these programs, these projects after completion to ensure that they're achieving our intended result. When we talk about congestion relief, are we actually seeing that? And we look at things like the State of the Commute report and a lot of the wonderful data that the SANDAG staff provides to us. So as you, I'm sure know, when the ordinance was passed, voters approved a variety of programs. Of course, our major corridor programs, which is our highway programs and streets and roads, but we also fund a lot of a really wide variety of programs as part of Transnet. And these include, of course, supporting our transit services, active transportation, environmental mitigation, and a lot of our grant programs, smart growth, active transportation, amongst others. And so consistent with the diversity of programs that Transnet funds, the ITAC is similarly diverse. We currently have 7 members. These are individuals. We're all volunteers. Nobody is compensated for the time that we spend doing this. And we specialize in various areas related to the Transnet program. So that includes experts in construction, in traffic engineering, in design, real estate, environmental measures, amongst others. So we use a variety of tools to perform oversight here. Firstly, each year we conduct an annual fiscal and compliance audit. And these audits are performed by independent auditing firms that we hire. And the audit covers all recipients of Transnet funds. So we look at our local agencies and partners, and this includes Caltrans as well as our transit agencies, to make sure that the expenditures are made, again, consistent with the requirements of the ordinance. We also make recommendations on eligibility of projects, grant funds, and others that we want to ensure that before any dollars are spent, that those recipients are eligible and the projects that they are bringing forward are also consistent with voter mandates and the requirements of the ordinance. So another significant tool that we have, I'm going to skip forward here a bit, is our triennial performance audit. And our triennial performance audit, similar to the annual fiscal audit, is performed by an independent auditor. And the triennial performance audit really looks at how overall, both from a quantitative and qualitative standpoint, how we are progressing and how we are spending these funds and how progress is being made. So we're in the process now of scoping our sixth cycle, triennial performance audit. I've been involved in that, and will be, I think, excited to share the results of that as well. We're really taking a deep dive into a lot of the component parts of the program as well. So the audits, we're taking a look at project delivery, cost control, adherence to schedules, a lot of the things that we get really deep in the weeds on these items, so that when these items come before the board, you can rest assured that they are meeting the requirements of the ordinance. In addition, we also provide, as I mentioned, feedback on system performance evaluation. So if you haven't looked at the State of the Commute report, it really is a wonderful data set. We're also very excited to be involved in the Vision Zero planning that's going on. We just this week, we had an item brought to the ITALK talking about how do we create a street and road system that is accessible and safe for all users. We analyzed data, talked about the over 700 pedestrian accidents and in some cases, unfortunately, fatalities that occur. And we're digging in really to understand through our auditing function and how we can reduce these sorts of incidents. I mentioned our annual report, which I will just very briefly provide some highlights. Every year we set goals for the committee. Of course, this year was no different. And two goals I wanted to highlight. Firstly, is we really want to hear from our member agencies. And so we've, I think, done a very good job at inviting our local jurisdictions to come and provide reports to us about how things are working really from a granular level. These are those staff members that work in your cities that say, hey, I'm applying for this grant. I'm actually implementing these programs. I'm deploying these funds. How is it working? Are there any kinks to be worked out? And so that's been really valuable feedback in terms of implementation and what we've seen. Another thing that we've been working very hard on is to implement our own audit recommendations. And so our performance audits not only look at SANDAG, we also look at ourselves to say, how can we be doing things better? And I'm looking forward, hopefully early next year, to bringing an item back to you at the board that we believe will allow us to be more effective. It will require an ordinance amendment, and we would love to earn your support for that to add additional expertise to the ITALK, as well as streamline some of our selection processes to make it a little bit easier for staff. The annual report was included in your packet. I'm not going to go through all the items here. It's really comprehensive. I want to acknowledge staff and all the work and help that they do. You'll see the progress that we're making in implementation of all of these audit recommendations and others. And so with that, thank you again for this opportunity to address the board. And of course, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you so much.
Again, thank you. We appreciate all of the work that you've done. And I'm going to turn it over to public comment.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I have 4 public comments on this item. The first, Truth, will be followed by Mike. Truth, please come to the podium.
ITALK report highlights, quote, prepare a regional safety plan to address driving behaviors, smart connections, customizing lane usage, end quote. A regional Vision Zero resolution with the intention of eliminating all traffic fatalities. Well, SANDAG video, San Francisco already did this and reduced speed limits everywhere to 20 miles per hour, yet there's zero difference in fatalities. And the American Blue Line has zero business in Mexico. There's no room, no safety, not enough ridership for the cost, and no legality. And this item says that SANDAG will invest in new technologies to put into practice what it's learned from its audits. But new tech, inanimate objects won't solve people problems. And Jack Fisher, EV taxes to track and discourage driving was never your idea. EV mileage charges are already in Oregon, Utah, and Virginia, and are coming to Michigan and Hawaii. John Dickinson in 1895 said, quote, those who are taxed without their own consent are slaves, end quote. Focus, everyone. People don't even know you exist, so you do not have consent to tax. Something to consider.
The next public speaker, Mike, please come to the podium. You will be followed by our first virtual speaker, Paul the Bold.
Mayor Wells, how are you doing today? I got a serious question to ask you. I would like to know how you would feel if your deputy mayor, along with city council members, ousted you from this board. I would like to know how that would go well in your city. Because I don't see the person here today, but this person that's voted in this picture happens to be a paid representative from climate action planners. Not only did she spearhead the movement to vote Mr. Franklin out of this seat, she also got to pick his replacement, right? Now, that's not the problem that I have. The problem that I have is the two people that were involved, Karina and Miss Melendez, they're lovers. They're girlfriend and girlfriend. And that is the textbook definition of nepotism. And this is the whole problem with this dysfunctional
Thank you. Your time expired.
That's got to get fixed.
Virtual commenter and next, Paul the Bold. Please go ahead.
Okay, so just a reminder, this is item number 7 on the ITALK committee, so please stay on topic. I was really confused. I apologize. Like
The first issue is where it says progress updates are brought quarterly to the ITALK. Item 7 at the April 12th meeting being the most recent. We should have had an update in July then. So much for transparency. Then an actual list of triennial performance audits on page 5 and 6. It has 26 items, 22 are in progress, only 4 are complete. This is pretty serious, especially considering how easily solved or completed some of these are. Take safety. Item, Consider identifying a regional safety planning coordinator to synchronize safety efforts of the region. This is a yes or no. It shouldn't be still in progress. Item, prepare a regional safety plan to address regional trends, road conditions, and driving behaviors. This is scheduled for next year.
Your time expired. Our final public commenter, the original draw. Please go ahead.
Behavior is so disturbing. You don't know what's going on. Oh my gosh, you're so confused. I know. I'm glad you're telling people that. It's so smart.
Ma'am, we cannot hear you.
You can't hear me? Hello? Hello?
Sorry, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
There you go. That's better. Thank you.
You can hear me? Okay. Yes, Nora, your behavior is very disturbing. You need to quit doing that. But yes, you don't know what's going on. And I'm glad that you're telling people that. So what I love with this, you guys are so smart because you're like, we're going to use drivers while we can, because eventually they're not going to be around anymore. And so we're going to use the money that they spend to do that and put them into an enslavement. It's going to be so great. And then they won't even be able to drive, but their driving will have funded it. I mean, how brilliant is all of that? I mean, you guys are really good, and you got to change the behaviors, right? Because I mean, if people agree with you, you don't have to change their behaviors. So that just proves, right? People don't agree. So we better be changing those behaviors to get them to comply and conform to this new way of life. If they don't capitulate, what are we going to do? Exactly. What are you going to do when people don't agree with this anymore, when they finally see what you guys are doing? Because you're literally enslaving the people into a 15-minute city. Oh, it's good. Are we going to eventually, say how fast people can walk because it's releasing too much?
Your time expired. That concludes the public comments.
Mayor.
Thanks, Chair. That's a great report. The part that I want to focus in on is the Vision Zero. And my thoughts on it aren't very popular, because I think anybody that thinks that we're getting to 0 traffic collisions and fatalities or even injuries has got to be smoking crack or something, because it's not going to happen. You can't get somebody to walk down the street without falling off a curb and getting hurt. So is that a traffic collision because it happened in the street? Is that an injury? Probably, depending on whose, policies you go by. But the part of what I do like to champion is the fact that we need to make more people be respectful to one another, because that's really what the laws are about, is being respectful and bringing people into compliance when they cannot be respectful. But there's not enough discussion about that. When the sheriff goes out or the police department goes out and they have to work specific areas to bring people into compliance, it's about punishment instead of education. And sometimes you do have to have punishment to educate people. But there's never any discussion about that. And I had a hard time, by the way, reading this, because when I tried to blow things up so that I could see it with my bad eyes and even more in my glasses, was blurry. And I didn't have any media that I could even fix that. So there might be something there I just couldn't read. So something I like to see in the future, though, is I would like to see, unless it wasn't here, and like I say, didn't see it, couldn't read it, is the actual comparison year over year to what actually is the response. I mean, at the where we're at today, and see, like, let's say, just go back 10 years, where there 1,000 accidents, where there then 800 accidents or 700 accidents, whatever that might be, and then identify what was done to decrease in a certain area. Because to me, that's a more comprehensive report. And it's like, we're talking about behavior modification. Well, I don't think we need to modify behavior. We just need to be more respectful, because that's how we're going to get a lot further with all this. But you're never going to get to zero accidents, especially if you get on an e-bike and you drive down the street and you hit a rut and you fall. There goes vision zero, I guess. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Chair Vargas. Thank you, Mr. Frankel, for this report. I really appreciate it. I have a slight question on, or a question on page 7. It is pointing out requirements, and there's one item on here which cites National City, and I represent National City, which is why I'm asking. It has to do with funds being below a 30% balance or threshold, and then if they're not below 30%, does that mean National City hasn't been spending the money that it has received from SANDAG?
Yes, so there are a number of requirements in the ordinance related to maintenance of effort, spending money, how much money you can have at the end of each fiscal year. And I see Marcus has joined me, who is our staff expert, so Marcus can speak to it a little bit in greater detail.
Thank you.
Hi, so this requirement by our auditors is, as you said, they drew too much transit money, but they haven't spent it at the end of the year. So this is kind of to limit the amount of money they have on hand. We don't want them to have too much transit on their end without spending it. And so what we have them do is certify that they will continue to remain below the threshold for the remainder of fiscal year 2023.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pascual. I will go back to my city manager and make sure that we are spending that money. I do see the corrective action is clear that National City will remain under the 30% threshold. So I do appreciate that. Just a minor typo, and I know the report has already been printed, but it says with the exception of cities of National City, and you're only citing one city. So I believe there aren't any more cities. It's just National City.
It's a typo. Yes, correct. It was just National City.
Thank you. And lastly, I just want to thank you. I think you mentioned that your group of 7 people that do all of this work, they are volunteers. That is amazing to me. I absolutely volunteer. I absolutely appreciate all members of the public that wish to do volunteer work for the betterment of their cities. I encourage all of the people that have an interest, especially people that come and speak at these types of meetings, go ahead and volunteer at your cities and do something good for your city. It's amazing to me that this amount of work is done through volunteers. And I thank you very much, Mr. Frankel and your team. I appreciate the details and the careful work here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Councilmember.
Yes, thank you very much for the report. And like Mayor Minto, He and I were both cops before we sold our souls to the devil to join this august body. I spent 3.5 years as a traffic deputy in the city of Vista and saw way too many vehicle pedestrian collisions. And I would say that a great approach to this, and we may never get to zero, but we're looking at a lot of educational processes, but also beyond that, when our cities look to design roadways and evaluate them, a greater emphasis on pedestrian safety, bicycle safety, and how we factor in vehicles. And we have rules about how we determine speed limits, but there are design features that can help mitigate some of that. And so I think removing as much of the conflict as possible is a good way to get us to where we want to be as far as a target. Thank you.
All right. With that, we have a motion? Oh, I'm sorry, it was on information. I just want to have a motion so that everybody can approve everything. Can we just thank you again on behalf of the board? Really, really appreciate it. And Marcus, thank you for everything that you do as well. I know you all do such wonderful work. With that, we're going to go ahead and move to closed session. But first, we're going to take any continued non-agenda public comments. So Tessa?
Thank you, Chairwoman. We had 4 continued public comments from the beginning of the meeting. The first in person, Mike, please come to the podium.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back to play that same old violin. I'm looking to hopefully hear that you guys will right the wrongs. You guys are only as strong as your weakest link. And right now, the city of Vista is your weakest link. I can't believe what you did to Mayor Franklin. That is absolutely atrocious how you guys treated him. Just for you to remove the same item that he was going to remove anyway, that kind of got my suspicions riled up right there. And the only way you guys can fix the wrongs here is reinstate and restore Mr. Franklin's rightful seat at this table, because this person right here wants to talk about equity. She barely got 5,000 votes, 5,200 votes within her city. And she's here with the power that's been appointed to her from her girlfriend that has a seat on climate action planners that precludes her from having a seat at this table. But now she's got influence by having her girlfriend at the table now because they voted out their mayor. And that is absolutely atrocious to what happened here. And you are an
Your
awful
time
person.
expired. Our
Components,
final
girl.
3 non-agendas from the beginning of the meeting were virtual. The original draw, Paul the Bold and Marcus Kramer. If you're still present, please raise your hand at this time. The original draw, please go ahead.
Love that we have to destroy the environment just to save it. You guys are good, you know, it's good. It's money laundering, it's fraud, waste and abuse. And evidently you guys also have to sell your souls to the devil. So that's interesting to hear. No wonder it smells like sulfur. Yeah, but it's because everything is based on lies. See, when you know how the devil works, right? He wraps it up in such a beautiful package. He'll sell you heaven and you'll end up in hell. And that's what you guys are doing. So it makes sense that you have to sell your soul to the devil because you're doing his bidding and, ensuring that there is just, you still kill and destroy. We're not really offering peace, love, unity, and, just forgiveness, things like that, right? We are just set out to make sure that nobody thrives. And so it's always good to hear you guys tell the truth. I love it. It's so great. If people just listen more, they'd really know what was going on and who their enemy is and who you're in bed with.
Your time expired. Our final public commenter on non-agenda, Paul the Bold, please go ahead.
Both SANDAG and the board are good at curtailing speakers' time. SANDAG, mostly by imposing a 1-minute time limit for speeches, the Board of Supervisors by limiting the liberty of saying what they want, either by calling the speaker out for ridiculous things like calling Michael out off topic on a non-agenda speech. I have also noticed that some people, Madam Chairwoman, like to control freedom of expression like non-disruptive clapping or sneezing. The variation between these rules, if not the speakers being interrupted fairly randomly, tends to confuse people. Why not impose one county-wide limit and set of rules? Maybe speakers get 2 minutes per item, every item, 5 minutes on consent, and can clap between speakers per the Brown Act and Constitution. I have noticed that speakers in opposition also get cut to 10.
Your time expired. That concludes the non-agenda public comments.
Okay, now we're going to take public comments on closed session items.
I have 2 public commenters on closed session. Truth, please come to the podium.
Who's ready for cake? No, this is officially the least amount of information provided about a closed session I've ever seen. The city of San Diego provides pretty good details on their cases. The county doesn't, but they at least provide a case number. The only information provided here is that SANDAG's thinking about suing. So maybe it's regarding Nora not following her own guidelines, or maybe it's about Hassan being insubordinate and not caring. Or maybe it's about Sandy having dirty hands and trying to play the victim card when nobody cares what box she checks or what alphabet she's politically allied with. Or maybe it's Sean and Gil with their ballot measures to help Todd assert power. Or maybe it's Andrea and her brother's Not So Grassroots Foundation. There's so many backroom deals and conflicts of interest here at SANDAG, and those involved in those things with litigation will be exposed and removed. Tick tock, because a lot of you are getting exposed. I didn't know about the Vista one. Man, was that fun? You're very entertaining. It's even better than I thought it was going to be, and I bet nobody thought I was coming with a bunch of fire today. Usually it's fun, but I like both.
Thank you. Your time expired. Our final speaker on item 9, the original draw, please go ahead.
Love that.
Please go ahead. I apologize.
I love that there's no attachment to this item, even though it says there's an attachment. There's absolutely no information, but future litigation. It's good. It's very transparent. I'm glad you guys are doing that. Is it something that you want to hide because, you don't want people to know about your fraud, waste, and abuse? What is it? Is someone, who knows? I don't know, but it's pretty stupid for you to sit there and be like, we're going to take public comment and give you no information. I'm surprised, Nora, you haven't said that we're off topic. What is the topic? Who knows, right? Just litigation? I mean, just future litigation. So maybe it's what you're going to be thinking about for the future when all of you are going to be removed for entering into globalist, agendas that are set out to kill, steal, and destroy people's lives. It's good. So good. So good. But at least you're taking this comment before and a non-agenda before this. So kudos to you.
That concludes the public comments on item 9.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead and take public comment. Before I ask everybody to leave, usually what we do is we go to closed session and then we come back to open session and we read off when the next meeting is. But because it's the comment that I was going to make when we come back from open session is important to everyone, I want to make sure that, because some board members may leave sooner or something because of the time issue, I want to make sure that everybody knows that our next meeting on October 27 is there's a very important agenda item. There's a proposed program budget amendment that's going to take place. And we're talking about adding over $600 million to our budget to advance a number of regional projects and initiatives. And so this is money that's coming from the federal government. We're not, it's really, I think, a powerful opportunity for all of us. So I've actually asked staff to reach out to each one of you over the next 2 weeks to brief you on this item. And I'm going to ask each one of you to please make yourselves available so that you can make sure that you ask all the questions. Absolutely ask the questions. You can bring those questions here on the dais, because if you want to make sure that the public hears what the questions were that you had, it's absolutely your prerogative to do that. But I want to make sure that you ask those questions of staff beforehand so that you can get all the questions answered, so that they have the tools that they need to answer your questions beforehand, and are trying to get you the answers here on the dais, because sometimes it's tougher. And then once you have all the answers, feel free to bring the same questions here. We will spend all the time that you need to ask the questions on the dais so that you can make sure that your constituents know what questions you're asking and that you get your answers to the questions that you were asking. But I think we have a wonderful, wonderful opportunity from funding that's coming from the federal government, from the infrastructure. And I'm sorry? I'm coming. Momento. This is from infrastructure bill and from funding from the governor and our legislature that I think are going to make a huge impact in the next couple of years in our region. And I want to make sure that we are allocating those funds in such a way that are going to impact everyone. So I'm excited about what this is going to look like, and I want us to be a part of that. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and ask only those folks. Yes, sir.
Just one request that we get that sooner than later.
Yes.
So that we can actually form those questions and.
Yes.
Thanks.
You're going to go all that information. I'm trying to make sure that that you get as much as you can so you can process it, review it. I know everybody's super busy. So, and there's a lot of information. So everybody's excited to help you. Okay, with that, if you don't have to be in closed session, I'm going to ask you to leave. Thank you everyone for being here. And we're going to go ahead and go into closed session. Nunca nada. Let me go home. Take care of your babies.
Okay. Chair, the board met in closed session on item 9 and provided direction regarding litigation. The details of that action will be disclosed upon request once any action has been formally commenced. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. This concludes our meeting. The next Board of Directors meeting will be on Friday, October 27th at 9 a.m. Have a wonderful weekend. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.